Exactly, it is where the magic happens. It's empirical and it's about feelings and it's about learning to ask the proper questions in the proper situation to the proper people. And it's super hard and there can be many mistakes, but it's crucial. In today's episode of Behind the Product, we are going to talk through our process of building a product. We are super small team, product team. I'm a designer. This guy here is a full stack developer, Predrag, and we have one more guy, Marek, backend developer. We are working together for 7 years in a really compact way, kind of. All three of us we build many products, and we kind of have this unique and organic flow of creating products, which allows us to be pretty quick and delivering products that matters and solves the problem and are packaged in a beautiful design. First is the idea. And how do we came up with ideas? Right now, it's mostly organic. Some of us sometimes has some great idea and share it with others, just brings it into our circle of us three, or also with Alex, four of us, and we just chat about the idea, and we are pretty skeptical about most of the ideas. And each of us is a bit different, so we tend to kill the other's idea because our worldview is a bit different. And that's good because it separates the bad ideas from the good ones, because if the idea is good, actually is strong enough to survive this skeptical part, and get into another part, which is a part of kind of exploration. We let the idea sit. We search for competitors. If there is something out there, we ask our friends what they think of the idea. Do you have anything else? What do we do? And we are in the phase of still molding the idea.
Yeah, basically, I would say that we use also this moment to get everybody, which is three of us or even four of us with Alex, on board with the idea. So, but as Johan said, we are pretty skeptical about the ideas, and we all have a little bit different mindset. So the stars really need to align for us, basically, to be all committed to this one idea. So usually, what happens is that we have 10 ideas, we throw 9 of them, and we maybe keep one for the validation.
Yeah,
Maybe.
and then comes the part of forming the idea into something more specific. So after we talk through it, and this talking through takes hours, days, and is going through days. We and a lot of research, writing down stuff like typical framework of why, how, what. I really like to use this. What's the problem? Thinking about the target audience. What's the solution or the hypothetical solution. We also think about even the end game, kind of. We also think about the distribution at this stage. We really think about everything, but from from top view, not too deep, but do a quick check of each of
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
vital
yeah.
organs if they are running. And if that makes all sense, we go into the next part, which is framing the idea into something more specific. Framing the hypothesis, kind of, into the product we would like to see in the world. And at
I
this
think
stage,
this is yeah. Sorry, you can continue. I think this is the kind of the step where, as you said, we go over in general over every little thing. So basically, we want to decide: is this worth developing? How much time in general is this going to take? Is the design going to be easy? Do we have time to do this? Is there a market? And then basically. It's just a quick validation. I wouldn't call it like a real validation with customers. I think this part comes after that, but this is mainly to get to even know if it's worth validating, basically.
yeah, from our experience. So this is based on our experience in business, in what we know in market, what's our skill, what's our runway. And this is the hardest part for most products. They will die here. and
Yeah.
and the next part is, again, forming it. And forming it means getting the abstract ideas into something more specific that can be pushed to the market in time that works for us. So if we have runway for 1 month, we need to stick to that, and or time for doing this product for 1 month, 2 weeks, we need to stick for this. And we really try to come up with the minimum viable product. And right now we are even more pushing to prototypes that will just validate the main hypothesis and problem space and solutions on those problems so the tool has a value for the target audience. And this can sometimes this means going into the product, and sometimes this means being on I don't know, Reddit and Hacker News and indie hackers and just asking people. And that's going to be phase that takes like 1 or 2 weeks, and then the idea may die because we get enough information that our hypothesis is not making sense and we kill it. But if it makes sense, we see that there is target audience and there is someone who could use it, and our hypothesis is kind of right, and we need to get to the stage where we build the product. We are again talking a lot, and we are talking because we have this great idea in our heads, but we need to shape it in something that can be built in 1 month, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think this is actually the step where we kind of have a validation complete. Obviously, you never. It's a short time frame. What we are talking about right now is building small, quick products that you can use for the validation and maybe expand it in the future. So time limit is basically, as Johan said, around 1 month. We don't do too much products which are like 1 to 2 years in the future, basically. So this is all quick validation. And I think at this point, if we have like validated customers, at least some of them which are interested, we move to basically the next step, which is I think wireframing and talking about the product.
Yeah. Or if we don't have this, but we see there is some chance of this working,
We continue.
and we don't have, yeah, we continue. So, for example, this can be like again asking on Hacker News some question that gives us answers. Okay, there are people who has this problem, and they are here. And right now we need to show them a landing page, for example, and the product to see if they are interested in the solution for the problem, and then talk to them. So right now, this is a pretty interesting mix, in my opinion, because we are going for the product, which should be beautiful and like amazing. So it brings up the emotions of the people and show them that it's the best solution for their problem. But also, it needs to be built on a short time, and we don't want to overpromise, kind of. So, for example, with Welder, we built the whole wireframe of the app from start to end, and it was something we would will be building for like a year. And from this stage, which is pretty easy for me to do, like as a designer, to wireframe this, and with you guys to go through it, like what all the features it should have. And we are spending a lot of time talking together about like, okay, Freddy, I have this idea. It should work like this. Do you think it's okay to do it? And you are like, yeah, it is okay. In 2 weeks, I'm like, okay, I will design it. And then this is like, is this okay to do? Is this okay? This feature okay to develop? And you're like, no, that will take like 2 years. I'm like, okay, I'm stripping that down already. And this is the first stage. Then I bring to you this wireframe, mostly low fidelity, not much design, and we talk through it, and we go like, okay, how fast we can build this, and from this point we are stripping it down.
Yeah, basically. It also depends on our timeline. If you have like 1 week, we will strip it a lot. If you have 3 weeks, we will maybe not strip it so much. So yeah, this is I think this is the step where we once again go over all of the features, and we try to figure out what can be stripped even more. So there are like two steps. The first one, it's kind of funny because like I think we are actually learning. We were not like this before, but we got better with time. I think we are actually learning to strip more and more features for entire life cycle of product. It's not just in one stage, in wireframe. It's basically
it's like
even before.
stripping.
Even when we are discussing the idea, we are always trying to discuss it in a way which is the most simple one to do it, basically. So we are doing it. But this is the only, I think, formal step, like we have for actually the last chance to basically to strip it as much as possible.
And when there is this not more specific product idea, design, wireframe, we don't develop it yet. Right now, we mostly go for the validation phase, which is I do the beautiful design, or I make like 3 screens really in a nice way, so it looks like a complete product. And I go to the landing page. And on the landing page, I take all the information we assessed before from the start, like what's the problem, what's the problem space, who is the target audience, everything from our research, like why, how, what, and I design the landing page. And we take this landing page, we put the product photos there, or videos, or something that looks like the final product is already up. And we, on the bottom, we put a big, visually heavy block of, hey, this is early access or beta. Are you interested in using this product? And we put an email there, name, some information about like who are you, any info we want or need to be smarter for our product decisions. And what do we do next?
I think this is actually a point where we try to validate the landing page. So for example, with Welder, what we did is that we paid YouTube ads for our target audience. And so like at this stage, we want to get as much feedback as possible in the shortest amount of time as possible. So it can be Reddit, it can be Hacker News, it can be cold emailing, it can be ads if they work for this particular use case. And I think we spent around 1 to 2 weeks basically last time we did this on this step.
And the goal of this is really to see if people care of if the target audience or target audiences we have in mind, hypothetically, care about the solution in the way we present it.
Yeah, obviously we know that it's different than actually users paying us, and this is actually the problem we had with Welder. We had quite a bit of signups, but then the conversion to paid tier was not as good as we thought originally. So, but it's still a basic validation for us. There is always some risk involved, but that's why you need, at least in our mind, you need to develop the product as simple as possible and quickly as possible, because there is always going to be some risk, but you can at least mitigate it. I mean, if you get no email, even signups, and nobody is interested, that you can stop right away.
And the important metric here, first I thought the important metric are the signups, and that's important. But the most important metric here is also the conversion, or I'm not sure if the most, but also the important metric here is the conversion rate and click-through rates on your ads.
Yeah, and I would also say engagement, basically, in the email. So I think for me, this would be maybe the most important steps. For example, if the user signs up and you write him, and does he go to call? Is he interested in solving this problem, or did he just sign up from Product Hunt, and he's not really interested in
because that's what's the goal of it. Like you push the ads, you push it on I don't know, like Reddit or wherever people can see it. Important for us to see is that people are clicking through it, they like it, they go to the website and they sign up. And when they sign up, I immediately go and write to them that I want to speak to them.
Yeah.
And this engagement rate is super crucial, because if they are just signing up, because there are also, like on the internet, there are so many bots signing up for your product.
Yeah, that too. That happens too, yeah.
So you really want to first filter the bots and people that will never even give you any information. They just signed up for, I don't know, with people that are actually curious about your product and you want to speak with them. And that's super important part. Like when you have like 50 signups, I don't know, even more if it goes well, write to everyone personal email and ask them if they have 15 minutes for you, because you are having this product and you are curious how the product can work best for them. And you want to chat with them how this can work best for them.
I think the actual goal of this would be to figure out basically if the user you are speaking to, is he excited about the problem? Does he actually have this problem? Is he excited about the sign up, and is he like, okay guys, when we are releasing the new product, or is he like not really interested? So you want to measure all these things. There is no data I think to measure it like easily with data, but it's about the feeling you have with speaking to 15 users. Like, were they excited? If they were excited, maybe you can continue. If they were not, maybe you need to do more validation. So it's kind of hard to decide, but that's the magic. Basically, that's where the magic happens.
Exactly, it is where the magic happens. It's empirical, and it's about feelings, and it's about learning to ask the proper questions in the proper situation to the proper people. And it's super hard, and there can be many mistakes, but it's crucial. And what I did with Welder is asking them straightly about the price, if they are okay with the price. Like, okay, and you have this problem, we might have this solution. Talk about who they are, how would they use it, what's their process right now, that's important one. And then, okay, if we have this, would you pay $300 for it per month? And see their reaction. And that's hard, because many people will say yes because they are on the call.
Yeah, of course. Well, nobody wants to say no.
Yeah, but there are reactions like yes, of course, even more. Yeah. And that's genuine. And there are reactions like yeah, and that's maybe
that's basically no.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then this stage is when this stage goes well, it's amazing. And you can move to the next stage, which is the stage we love most, I think, and it's building the product. Yeah, so the next step, when we validate that the idea makes sense, and the users have the problem, we can now more specifically scope who are the users, because after you talk to them, you can see like, okay, I have 10 of these, I don't know, podcasting studios talking to me and being interested, and I have 5 of these medias and they are like meh. So you are okay, I will go for the podcasting niche for the and try to make the product best for them. And if you have this, or if we have this, we go for the product building part, which for me means going back again to you with the wireframe, with the whole flow, making it not even more nice. Like this is still in my design process. I like from beginning for the design to look nice. So it's not high fidelity, but it already has the colors. It already has like the style a bit. It's not
Branding,
polished.
basically, and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Because for me, it helps to be creative. Because when I do the only black and white wireframe bar, it just don't work for me in my mind.
Yeah, you like pretty colors and fonts, I know.
Yeah, I'm designer.
Exactly.
And with this whole flow, when I have all the screens for the MVP, because right now we either go for the prototype right now or for the MVP that is based on the product. Like there can be, for example, for Welder, it was hard to do design prototype, clickable prototype, because you don't have the live call. So we opted in for going into code, but in super fast and dirty way. And we sorry, I'm going for the whole design process, for the whole user flow process that is designed in some way, and go to you guys and talk through it. And we just talk about everything and how long it will take and how it will be done. And I'm curious, like, what's going at this stage in your mind as developers, because I know that you are already thinking about what services you are going to use. If we are going to use some third parties for some solutions,
Yeah,
what technologies are we going to use?
yeah. So
And
basically,
sorry, and you also, from everything you have in this mind, and you will tell me what that is. You stripe the design and the product down for me, and I have to work with your constraints in the design.
yeah, I think this is the point basically where we when you are like finishing completely your wireframe, this is the kind of point I think where we split for at least a day or two, where basically we with Mark discuss our development stuff and you do the wireframing and the basic wireframing and basic feature set. And this is the point where we decide the stack, what technology we'll use, where we will deploy the app, and where will we do all of the, I would say, all of the stuff not related actually that is common between basically all apps, deployment, technology stack, stuff like that. And how we usually select our stacks, at least right now, is basically, okay, how do we make it as simple as possible? So we use all the existing stack that we know, which is Python Django. This is obviously like the simplest choice, because if you have 7 years of experience, there is no better stack to use than the one you already know. That's how it usually is. But we, for these kind of prototypes in the future, and actually right now, we want to change and we want to optimize our stack of choice to basically create a product that is beautiful, that is nice, that is working and bug free in the quickest amount of time humanly possible. So we are always researching for new technologies. For example, do we want to use some CSS framework that still allows us to do the design? Do we want to even use React? Because in the past we used a lot of React, but right now we are doing only server-side templates because it's like 40% faster, and time to market is our most important metric, because there is still so much risk involved. Basically, if you have a goal to create a product in 2 to 3 weeks, you cannot really be fancy. You have to use existing stack, and you have to select technologies which are optimized for speed. And that's we do at this step. And then after that, when you return back with the absolutely final wireframe, basically we kind of strip the features. We decide what features to keep. It usually has to be like valid. For example, in our last project, we didn't even have like password forget. That's how far we strip our feature sets for the
Go
MVP,
for the
which is like,
core
yeah,
problem. Like,
exactly.
this is the problem we are solving, and that must be well, and everything else can be done other way,
Yeah.
for the MVP, for the prototype.
Which actually just is a little bit of trivia. For example, with Velver, for example, not having password forget was completely fine because nobody wanted to reset password to 2 months. So this was really
Yeah.
good trade-off. Just an example, but it's many. There is many features like that basically in an app. And then I think once we have this wireframe ready, this feature step stripped, you basically go to design, and I with Mark do all of the backend work. I set up the database, we set up the deployment, which usually takes 1 to 2 days, and we are again split. Where basically you're designing, you're thinking about design, and then you are going to us with like feedback, for example, for some elements which real design, which is always different than iframe. But we usually can make all of this in 1 to 2 days ready. And then once you get back to with design, we can actually start producing the product, the front end and
Yeah.
like the design, basically reproducing it. This is our flow.
I also think this is where the magic happens for us. And for the 7 years we work together, this part is something we organically may become really great at.
I think this is correct. This is something. I think this is something that is very hard for us actually to explain how are we so fast. I think the main reason for that is basically that once you work with each other for 7 years, you basically don't really have to talk too much. I can just we can just say, okay, I will do design, and we will prepare the code base, and it will somehow just happen. You will ask some question if you need some clarification, but the design kind of happens in 2 days. This is not usually standard basically. So I think this is our biggest like magic in building products, is that obviously we are all quite good after 7 years of working. So we have a good designer, we have good developers, we have good product management, stuff like that. That obviously helps. But I think what helps the most is that there is very little communication overhead at this stage. So we communicated a lot before when we discussed ideas. We talked about a lot. For example, we had 5-hour calls basically about the ideas and then the validation, how we'll do the validation, stuff like that. So it's a lot of talking, but at this point, there is actually not too much talking involved. Even for example, with me and Mark, which are technically working together, but even still, we split our work so well that basically I just do my part, he does his part, and we are both like 100% or 95% efficient basically. I think for you it's the same. There is very little overhead between us.
It is. It's exactly, and I think this is the strength of product teams and why everyone should work in product teams that sticks together for a longer time. Because this is really amazing. First, it's super satisfying because the things are happening fast without a lot of friction. And second, because it's just really powerful. You can push product super quickly. Because I already know how you think. I already know a lot about. I'm a designer, but I know so much about development and programming and how things works that I design and I already have your constraints in my head. And if I don't know something, I just ask you and trust you, or I know I can challenge you because I, for example, feel that design is important for us, and that's what I said in the beginning, because it's a way for us to build the trust and authority very early on with a nice design, because we have this asset. So sometimes I can push you, like, because I know you say, no, this is not possible. I'm like, yeah, but I know this is not so hard maybe. So I can push you. And I know that you will actually in some point say, okay, let's do it, because I again trust you as a designer that this makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
And thanks to this, we can pretty quickly build really well looking products that solves the problem. And that's amazing. I think I love it.
I think this is definitely our like most used and like built skill over the 7 years basically. This is our bread and butter.
Exactly. But it sometimes can be on the bad, because we tend to go to this stage.
Exactly.
We love this stage, so we tend to go to it too quickly, and then we spend even if we are right now spending just 2 or 3 weeks to build the MVP, we tend to jump to this decision too quickly, and then the 2 weeks can be wasted because the research should have been done more properly, because we love building things. Okay, so after this part, I prepared the whole design. I have it already done. It's already polished. I have every interaction in my head. It's stripped down many times after you get information about what technologies we can use, what do you know, what do you don't know. And it's important to say that you always try to eliminate anything unknown as much as possible in this stage at the development side.
Yeah, exactly. You should not pick like any fancy stuff. Basically, just pick what you know and do it in for 2 weeks. Otherwise, there is very good chance that it will fail in some way.
Yeah, and I finished the design. I get feedback from you again, strip down everything we can, and you take it and go developing it. And my part is done on the design mostly, and I either go work on the landing page or again researching to the product. I support you sometimes when you need something that I forgot to design, which is also amazing for me. I don't need to like spend too much time on thinking what should be designed because I know you will tell me, and that's super. And for me, then it's super quick, it's easy to do it and send it to you. Uh, yeah, and at this stage, there's like 2 weeks, 3 weeks for me when you develop the product and you can talk about it a bit more. And for me at this time, I really spend it mostly on the problem again. And right now when we have Alex, we are spending this time on the community and being with the people that have the problem and already trying to sell it and already again talking through all the time. I talk to the people who has the problem and already saying like, okay, it will be out in 3 weeks, like and again validating everything we know. And supporting all the ideas we have. Yeah. So what's going in that process of 2-3 weeks development of the first prototype or MVP when the design
Basically,
is done?
basically the race to finish. I mean, from the development, it's kind of actually it's a little bit even thanks that we work with Mark for so long. It's basically kind of a lot of on the rail stuff. There is not a lot of magic involved in that. I guess. Every 2 to 3 days we try to realign with Mark if we can something simplify even further, but since we already did the wireframe, the idea validation, and then selected this stack before we started, right now it's just about writing the code, which we are good at. It kind of it depends on the project. If it's a simple crude application, some CRM or stuff like that, then it's very simple. It's on the rails, and you just do it basically. If it's something harder like Welder, then even at this step, there can be a lot of discussion involved with Meet Mark, where we discuss like what is the best approach, what is the best architecture we can select.
And many times we go back to design because you are like,
Yeah,
hey,
exactly.
I thought this
Yeah.
can be done, but I'm sorry, but like this will take us another week,
Yeah.
and then I need to do the decision. Okay, from my experience talking to users, this is not needed. Let's strip it.
Yeah, exactly. So this is depending on the complexity. We can still go back even to wireframe sort of design, or we can just be on the rails. Like well, let's do it in 2 weeks and everything goes well. Which it's not that likely, but it also sometimes happens.
Yeah, the underestimation of the complexity is a big thing, and we actually had the video about this back in the time, and you should watch it if you are interested in this topic because it's big for if you are bootstrapping a product. Okay, so when that's done and everything goes smoothly, you are just 50% past the deadline.
Yeah.
100%.
I mean, this is good, maybe even.
This is great.
50% is pretty great.
It's normal. It's like normal. You always we are learning really to estimate projects properly right now and always, but mostly it happens that you overestimate it. But that's important part. You should really get it out as soon as possible, and we are also learning this still. Like get it out if it's a prototype MVP. Get it out to the users really early, even with if it's buggy, not super nice, not super working. Share with them that it's this stage, but you are giving them the early access. They are the best one for you, so you give them this to use it and to play with it. You should aim for the early innovators, target audience, which will love this. This is super important, but it's hard part, at least for me, because I'm always like, yeah, but like this needs to work properly. For example, for the recording needs to be stable always. Like we cannot release it if it's 50% not working in the early days. And it's hard. It's again hard empirical decision on what's the state when you should release it.
It's usually better to release it sooner. But yeah, as you said, like this is something that is very obvious, I think, in the books and like in the common knowledge, but it's very, very hard to execute in the real life. But
Yeah.
this is also where the magic happens. If you want to be quick, that's the hard part. But yeah, I mean, it's very easy for us to now talk about it, basically. But I think we will again have this same problem when we start the next project and next project after that, and maybe then it will be a little bit better. But this is like a 10-year marathon, basically, to keep it as simple as possible.
But it's the general rule is release it when it hurts you, like when it pains, when it's not complete sooner
Yeah.
than later is a good general rule. Yeah, and when we release it, everything is great. We are rich and we can go home. Bye.
Yeah, that really happens.
Never. It's the first prototype. It's the first MVP. People, mostly the outcome will be mostly meh. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is actually this is the step where you get disillusioned.
Yeah.
Basically, when you
Reality
release it,
check.
nothing is really happening.
And it's hard step. It can be hard step because you put a lot of effort. Even if it's 3 weeks, you are super fast, or 1 month, or if it's 2 months, it's even worse. You put a lot into this project. It's your baby. You love it. The idea. It's like you validated it. You talk with people, and right now they are not signing up, or they are signing up but they are not paying, and you're like, what the heck? And that's the hard stage, but it's totally common. You should stick with it. Be prepared. It may happen. It may take off. Even that may happen. But mostly it won't, because it's your first prototype, and it takes like 5 iterations of this to get it to the perfect stage. Um,
Yeah,
and
I think we have a great example about Welder where we first started with desktop app. Maybe you can tell them a little bit more about that, because this is, I think, really like perfect example of you release something, it's meh, and then you pivot to something else and it works. So I
yeah,
would like
and
to explore
it's
this option.
yeah the thing was that we decided to go for desktop app with Welder, and it was not. I didn't see this when I was speaking to the users. I asked them about it, and it was not a problem. But then when it got into real life, and they now had to use it, no one wanted to download the desktop app as a guest for a one-time interview, and it was a huge no-go.
Like
So we
which may seem obvious right now, but it was
yeah
not before, because there is some thinking in the desktop too. It's more reliable. You can store the files locally on user disk, so you will not lose the recording. And also, we thought originally that if you have like a media company and you are doing high quality interviews, when you are sending cameras, it would be fine to, for example, install desktop application. But it
yeah
turned out that is just not the case. It just
yeah.
didn't work, so we had to change it.
Many
This
people
was
in corporations, like antivirus stopping it, and administrators need to allow the app, or people are just afraid, or they don't know how to download an app. So we need to rewrite it, and we launched it again, and the second iteration, it worked. Like that was it, and we could go further for another iterations. And at this stage, it's about distribution, I think, and that's another part that I think we should really take into another
yeah.
another episode. But the long story short is, right now you have an MVP, and you iterate it more. Like you learn, you build again, and you get the data again, and you learn, ideate, build, learn, ideate, build, and you do this all together, and also spend a lot of time. That's on my side mostly, and right now on Alex's side, not on design and making it better and taking new features, but distributing it, being in the communities, working on LinkedIn, whatever is your preferred sales channel. At this stage, you don't have. It doesn't need to be scalable for you. It can, if it works, is the best, but it doesn't. You really can go handpicking the customers, being with them a lot, and like that's
Yeah.
how it starts.
I think this is the really important point. That basically at this step, you should again switch from being a product person to being basically a distribution person and getting people in a funnel, because this is the in. But I would say like it's not necessarily about the cash, because you're probably not going to make 40K MRR even if it's great product, even like it's going to take some time. So basically at this point you're a distribution person, but what you're actually doing is trying to get as much people as possible into the funnel and to figure out like where are the problems with the product, what do people want to change, because you usually don't want to have calls with just 3 people. It's a small sample, they can skew you don't really know the customer. You should have, I mean, this is like a generalization, but you should probably have like at least 20 to 30 calls basically to have at least an idea about what to build
Yeah,
next.
it's true. And like everything right now starts, at least for in our case, it might be VC funding, it might be how to scale it fast enough so we can. It's our main income. So like this is another part. But I really enjoyed this episode, and talking about this was amazing. I like our process. I'm thinking about the takeaway if there is some, because it's a huge process and it's long. You have to what?
I think the takeaway is that you have to build your own process, but that you have to build your own process basically, because this is very. But yeah, you can maybe use this as an inspiration. I don't think you should like copy these complex processes yourself. I think this doesn't make really sense. I think you have to build it for your own team. But maybe at least it can be some kind of inspiration.
Yeah, I think it's an inspiration, and I think what's important is that, or from our experience, what I think is important is that we are working together for 7 years. We know each other really well, so we can work pretty fast and don't. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, there's so much. I'm not sure how to complain into one thing. Yeah. So hard. It's so hard. Yeah, I don't think there is a takeaway.
I think the takeaway when you are building a software product is that you should optimize usually your process for speed, but how you do that is really up to you. And all we can do is offer some kind of inspiration, because it will depend on your personality of your designer. It will depend on personality of your developers. How do you work? If you are remote or if you are on site, there is all of these stuff involved. Basically, I think really this is something that you have to be very careful, and you should not just read a book and implement some kind of process, but it should be organically created from your goals and also your personalities and like million other things basically.
Exactly, because it's about listening to yourself, what you love, challenging yourself to learn what you don't love, but it's important, and you can learn that in books. And as Freddy said, aim for the speed and release things sooner than later. All right, thanks everyone for watching. If you like this episode, leave us a comment. That's really most important thing for us, to hear from you. What's your process quickly, or if you like this process, or what do you really don't like, or what do you find not appropriate in our process, or how to say it. You can also join our discussions. We are recording them through Welder, so it's super easy to join us. You can also join our indie hacker community or indie bootstrap builders, product builders community that we have right now on Circle. If you write me there's a link in the description. And that's it. You can subscribe to the channel also. All right. Thanks, Freddy, for discussing this with me. It was really interesting. Bye.
Bye-bye.